Okay, good morning, everyone. It's about 3 minutes after 9, so I'd like to call the McLeod County Board of Commissioners to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, good morning, everyone. Consideration of agenda items. I understand we have an addition.
Yes, thank you. I'm requesting the addition of item 5B. Consider approving the sale of a 2013 Ford Escape at auction with Jeff Martin Auctioneers of Glencoe, Minnesota.
Thank you. Any other corrections or additions to the agenda?
No.
If not, I'd look for a motion
I'll
to.
move agenda, Mr. Chair.
Motion made by Commissioner Smalls to approve the agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wright. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda.
No changes.
Motion, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
And second.
Motion made by Commissioner Wright, seconded by Commissioner Smalls. Is any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. First item, which is number 4, Sheriff's Office. Good morning, Aaron.
Morning.
Morning.
I'm here for considering approval for the sale of a 2015 Ford SUV to the Glencoe Police Department for $3,750. The last two Ford SUV vehicles sold at Jeff Martin were in 2023. They were in 2018 for $4,860.
And a 2015 for $5,400. The current vehicle is in need of more than $1,000 in repairs, and selling it to Glencoe Police Department would also save the Sheriff's Office several $100s to have the squad torn down for auction. If the City of Glencoe decides not to move forward with the purchase of the vehicle, the Sheriff's Office would request the vehicle be sold through Jeff Martin Auctions.
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Wright to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Smalls. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Seems like there's no harm there, and if we can benefit the city of Glencoe and also McLeod County, I think it's a good move to pursue the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Smalls. I also would like to thank our departments for working together. It's not only on this item, but there's another one coming down later here that explains our guys working together and trying to get the most usefulness out of our vehicles before they're gone or sold. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Building maintenance, Joe.
Good morning.
morning.
Consider approving a change order with Bradley Security and Electric from Glencoe, Minnesota for the Law Enforcement Center Master Lock and Key Project at a cost of $9,438.10 with funds from County Buildings Major Repair Budget 01-115. The project was originally approved on May 21st, 2024 at a cost of $28,135.90. This change order is needed so the project can be completed to meet security standards.
Board, thanks, Joe. I do remember our discussion when we approved the spending on getting the new locks, so I'm familiar. I don't have any paperwork, so I'm not going to read anything that I don't have, but I do remember that, and I do realize that I know the standards or whatever, when we go through our audits, we have certain standards that we have to go by, and that's why this change is presented. With that, what do you, board? Any other
Mr.
questions?
Vice Chair, just to add, with the Department of Corrections doing an annual inspection, we need to make sure that the specifications of our security meet their standards, and this will assist in doing so that they can have continued past inspections. Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Before we go into the motion, a question for Joe. And Joe, this occurred, before you joined us here at McLeod County. I'm under the assumption that, this will be dollars over and above the original estimate.
Correct.
Is there going to be any credit given with this change order that can be credited back to the original estimate? In other words, are we discounting some money off of the original estimate with doing this change order?
So this request was to bridge the gap between what it will cost and what we originally approved.
Mr. Chair, I'll move request.
The motion's been made by Commissioner Schmalz to approve request. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wright. Again, just for clarification, this is a change order because of the standards from the original bid were not met. I mean, you gotta remember, this is at the courthouse and the jail, so there's certain standards that have to be met.
Yes.
Any other discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Yeah, and I'm under that realization as well. If we need to comply with the standards to keep the jail safe and operable, that's a necessary expense in my mind. So thanks for looking into it, Joe.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. B, the sale of the vehicle.
Yes, consider approving sale of 2013 Ford Escape with Jeff Martin, auctioneer, in Glencoe, Minnesota. So as what was discussed earlier, we've been working together with the Sheriff's Department, and we had kind of picked out one vehicle that they were pulling out. And this vehicle has high mileage. It's developed a lot of rust and has some safety concerns that we actually pulled it out of service, and there's an auction next week, so we'd like to capitalize on that and go ahead and move it down the road.
Thank you, Joe. And again, being on the budget committee, we have had some conversation, and I alluded to it earlier that I do appreciate our departments working together to get the most usefulness out of these vehicles that we can. I mean, there's obviously nothing lost to the county by moving them along, because I think there was more reasons. All-wheel drive, there's several reasons that we can.
Yeah, it's really a big upgrade considering what we have versus what we're
Right.
headed. So
Well, it just makes so much sense to try to get everything out of them we can. So with that, I'd look for a motion to proceed.
Mr. Chair, I'll move request.
Motion made by Commissioner Schmalz. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Chetska. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you,
Thank you.
Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
And again, thanks for working. I'd like to see that continue, our work with our department heads to get as much as we can out of our equipment. Environmental Services, Mark.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
3 items for your request this morning. Item A is to consider a request from Cal Maynard Jordan to approve conditional use permit 24-17 for a second dwelling for family care that would be located on his son's property. There's a correction there, son's property at 19482 County Road 9, Lester Prairie, Minnesota. This property is owned agricultural. It's an 8.91 acre building site located in the west half, the southwest quarter of Section 36, Winsted Township. They did submit a letter from their applicants, Cal did, from his applicant's physician, from stating that just due to aging and some health care issues that they could use some assistance in regards to this daily living and upkeep of their property. If approved, a septic contract will be hired to obtain a septic system design. And the Maynards requested, or excuse me, the Jordans requested that originally, per their application, this building would be placed on the west side of Otter Creek. This property, 8.91 acres, is located just south of the Solar Gardens at the intersection of County Road 9 and Highway 7 in Winstead Township. So it's a residential property just south of those solars on the east side of County Road 9. And the property is split by Otter Creek. So originally they were requesting to place this structure on the west side, which separates the building site into two pieces. All the buildings are on the east side, but the most logical place, and they'll comment on that, they are in attendance today, would be on the west side in their view, just due to drainage issues. So that's just a quick reason why we're here today on the regular agenda. The Winstead Town Board recommended approval for this request January 14th, 2025. The Planning Commission recommended approval on January 22nd, 2025 with the following conditions. Number one, the modular dwelling shall be placed on the north and east side of Otter Creek and outside of the floodplain. Number two, the second family care dwelling shall be a modular or manufactured home. Number three, the second dwelling shall be removed, or the existing farm dwelling will need to be removed once the care is no longer needed. Number four, an annual letter from a licensed physician shall be submitted to McLeod County Environmental Services Office to continue the use of the second dwelling. So again, as a recap, the township approved the request west of the creek. Planning Commission looked at that property during road tour and after the public hearing thought that the best place for that structure would be somewhere on the building site, just to utilize the driveway and potentially share services that are available to the building site. In the discussion with Cal and his son, there was some concern in regards to, placing that structure because of the amount of sheet flow that does come off of the property to the north, and it is significantly higher. There is a field there. So that is why Cal and Peter are here, and they would like to talk to you guys in regards to what their options are moving forward.
Excuse me, Mark, what's coming off the field?
Sheet flow, water, drainage.
Okay, yeah, thank
So it's significantly higher. How much higher? Guessing probably 10 to 12 feet, maybe more than that. But there is significant tillable acreage to the north of that, which does run down to this building site and potentially could create some difficulties to place the second structure there.
Okay. Come on up. Yep.
Morning. Morning.
So we're here basically today to kind of discuss the original site that was approved by the Environmental Services
Is there a
Board.
mic on? I can hear, but I'm not sure that anybody else can.
I think it's on.
Nope.
It's on.
I see the green light.
Yeah, we're here today to
Thank
ask about changing.
Closer.
Closer. Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me, I don't hear very well. To request a possible variance in the site location from the approved location from the county or from the Environmental Services Board from northeast of the creek? Yeah, to our original plan site there off of County Road 9. The biggest reason is there is quite a bit of runoff that comes off that farm field in that corner of that property. And my son learned this week that actually the neighboring farmer there had a discussion with Peter about that particular piece of land that used to be a swamp or used to be a wetland, and it was filled in to level that land off so that there wasn't quite so much standing water there. So our original thought was to go back to the original site there off of County Road 9. So, and we have pictures and everything else. My son also has a letter. I know one of the other concerns was about subdividing the property at a later date. That will not happen. the property will stay in Peter's name and will not be subdivided. So,
Mr.
Okay,
Chair.
I had had some questions earlier and I got them answered, but the pictures would help me if you want to pass them on.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
and if I might, and to the Jordans, thanks for coming in today.
You're welcome.
And
Thank you.
so is your intention then to build on the north side of Otter Creek, near the original home site that's there now? Is that what your intention is today?
It's on the it would be on the west side of Otter Creek, so the opposite side of,
Mr. Chair, if I may, they do
Go ahead.
have a
I'm a little
letter and a
confused here.
map that they'd like to present. If it pleases the board, I'd give that to the
Please,
board.
yeah, pass them down. And from what I understand is the same, I mean, this process to me is something that we have to do these days because of cost of care.
it would be cost prohibitive for us because we would have to basically redesign the approved piece of land that the Environmental Services Board granted us. Only because there's just so much standing water there, we're concerned that we'd have to go down with our footings possibly 30 feet in order to make a stable site for the piers for the house.
And for me, I mean, the added costs are, this is an added cost to you, so
Correct.
You
That
have to
is
put a
correct,
well
yes.
in where a lot of times we wouldn't have to. There's several other things there. The subdivisions are a total different issue, at
Right.
least for me, so that's not for us to decide today.
Sure.
But with what I know and the information that I've been presented, I personally don't have a problem with it, but board, I mean, it's all taken care, all the questions of mine are taken care of and the restrictions that, like every other, that the buildings come off and again, your extra expenses in your well, so.
Right.
Board, does anybody else got any questions? Mine have been answered.
I think the reason, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Thank you. The reason that the planning committee suggested that they switch spots is because it's such a narrow piece of property. Mark, what are oh, there you are. 100 feet off the road and.
Yeah, so what she's referring to, what Commissioner Cheska's referring to at the public hearing, the discussion from the planning commission typically ensues on a second dwelling like this if there's potential for future subdivision. The township asked that I come and speak to them at their meeting in January, and it was in regards to that potential for future subdivision, which means the landowner would have the option at that point if they wanted to try to make that into a separate building site. When you factor in the setback off County Road 9 and for a structure at 130 feet, off of the creek at 100 foot, those are both required setbacks by ordinance and Minnesota rule. That is a pie-shaped piece that tapers to the north because of the angle of the creek. With that being said, it would be very difficult to make that a buildable lot. And my recommendation to staff, if I'm still present in the office, would be not to recommend that as a building site just because of future expansion of that building site. It's a really, really tight area to meet all the setbacks. But the applicant understands that, and it is the intent to remove any services that they would provide. And I don't want to speak for Commissioner Chechka. Typically in the past, the Planning Commission, looks at it if it's their own property, right? And so they're sticking significant monetary investment in for a septic system, a potential well, and if that care only lasts, 1 year, could last 20, 25, 30 years, that is the burden of the applicant. And as long as transparency and they're aware of that, if it pleases the board and it meets the requirements and you can mitigate for any potential impacts, then I believe you have the ability to recommend approval or to approve that. So. And it was a good point to bring up because the building site typically is where we look to first, but in this particular situation, I don't see that there's a wetland there, based on the National Wetland Inventory map, but not to say that it's not. It definitely is a lower area, and there is definitely that possibility for significant water to come off of that hill to the north. So I do understand their request.
Mr. Chair? Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't have any problems with changing the site plan, or, the view of that. I can see why our Planning and Zoning Committee made the findings that they did. But it looks like within the conditions, when the care is no longer needed, which needs to be certified by an annual letter, when that's no longer necessary, the CUP is null and void at that point. So the issue is taken care of. So I don't have a problem with your thoughts on moving the structure either. So.
Okay, and Mark, just to be clear, the way I understand this, if for some reason, at the end of this period, if they want to remove their main dwelling, they could switch this to their main dwelling, is that correct?
That is correct.
Yeah, and that's fine with me. I just wanted to be clear that we were going by our rules per se, that there's only one site there. So again, in management, which is the best, that's up to them. So.
And there's one more thing that I should bring up. If it is approved, so minus condition 1, if we are going to make a recommendation, or if there's a motion to approve minus condition 1 for mandating the placement east and north of Otter Creek, they would also need an access permit from the Highway Department off of County Road 9. So any site there would be, subject to a permit granted, a right-of-way permit granted from our Highway Department as well. So they look at site clearance issues. I don't want to get into Andrew's standards there, but it's not carte blanche, right? And there is a little bit of a hill there, so that is something that the applicant will have to work through if approval is granted for them to place that on the west side of the creek.
Thank you, Mark. And I didn't really want to get down there. I mean, I just want to look at what's here for today, and my personal opinion is that I approve that, and the rest has to evolve as it goes along. I just wanted to be transparent that is an option according to the rules or everything I just heard. So,
Mr. Chair, and if I may, so if you remove condition 1, then it kind of opens up the entire site with setbacks in mind. So if for some reason that access permit is not going to be granted, they still would have the right to come back on the
Correct.
north and east side and look for placement.
right. With that, is board?
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
So my understanding is the applicant will have the freedom to choose either site with the removal of condition 1. Am I correct on that assumption, Mark?
Based on discussion, that is correct.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Commissioner.
I will approve, or I will move to approve conditional use permit 24-17 with us taking option 1 out of the equation as shown in the board packet.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Smalls to approve minusing condition 1. Is there a second?
I can second that.
Motion seconded by Commissioner Wright. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mark?
Item B is consider approving conditional use permit 24-18 as requested by Craig Reiner Contracting for gravel mining, concrete, asphalt recycling, crushing, and stockpiling of material for a 5-year period in an existing gravel pit originally permitted in February 2013. The property is located at 21906 Vista Road, Hutchinson, Minnesota. It is a 30-acre parcel that is being requested. It's located in that part of the southeast quarter, the southwest quarter, and government lots 3 and 4 in section 14 of Oklahoma Township. Oklahoma Township Board recommended approval on January 9th, 2025. The McLeod County Planning Commission recommended approval on January 22nd, 2025 with the following conditions. The applicant shall submit a bond or letter of credit to McLeod County Environmental Services by March 15th, 2025 in the amount of $30,000. That is for restoration. Number 2, hours of operation are Monday through Friday, 6:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. Crushing shall not occur prior to 8 p.m. during the hours of operation. Saturdays shall be permitted as needed with a 24-hour notice to McLeod County Environmental Services. Saturday hours, if approved, would be between 7 a.m. and 12 p.m. Number 3, the applicant shall meet all state NPDES, National Pollution Discharge Elimination requirements, and apply for a DNR dewatering permit if needed. Number 4, the applicant shall restore the pit area to a 4-to-1 backslope for non-farming purposes. That is a requirement of ordinance. Number 5, McLeod County Environmental Services shall inspect all restoration work completed and approve with a letter acknowledging completion to release the bond or letter of credit back to the applicant at the conclusion. Number 6, the applicant shall follow all mining standards contained in Section 16 of the McLeod County zoning ordinance, if not further restricted by this permit. So the only changes between the last 5-year period and this one would be the total acres and the dollar amount for the bond. Everything else is the same.
Questions, board?
Mr. Chair, it looks pretty standard with how we've seen these in the past, so I'll make a motion to approve.
And second.
Motion made by Commissioner Wright, seconded by Commissioner Schmalz to approve permit number 24-18. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And item C is consider a request from Randy and Dylan Peterson to approve conditional use permit 24-19 for a new mining gravel pit on property owned by John Maceman. Phase 1 of this operation includes gravel mining, excavation, and crushing of material for a 5-year period. This is an agricultural zone parcel. It is 15.71 acre request within a 40.10 acre parcel located in section 20 of Rich Valley Township. This request is on land that is on the west side, so it'd be north and west side of Koala. The address for the building site is 14964 Koala Road, Glencoe, Minnesota. Rich Valley Township recommended approval on January 14th, 2025. The McLeod County Planning Commission approved on January 22nd, 2025 with the following conditions. Number 1, the applicant shall submit a bond or a letter of credit to the McLeod County Environmental Services by April 1st, 2025 in the amount of $16,000. Number 2, hours of operation are Monday through Friday, 6:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. Saturday shall be permitted from 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. as needed with a 24-hour notice to McLeod County. Crushing hours shall be between 8 a.m. and 7 p.m. on the permitted days and hours. Number 3, the applicant shall meet all state NPDES permit, National Pollution Discharge Elimination requirements, and apply for a DNR dewatering permit if needed. Number 4, the applicant shall restore pit area to match existing elevation of 1,005 feet submitted per the survey, except there is agreed upon that they would like to keep out the landowner wood for hunting purposes within this area. Number 5, the McLeod County Environmental Services shall inspect all restoration work completed and approve with letter acknowledging completion to release the bond or letter of credit back to the applicant. Number 6, the applicant shall follow all mining standards contained in section 16 of the McLeod County zoning ordinance, if not further restricted by this permit. Number 7, the applicant shall repair or replace any damaged drain tile. Number 8, all processing machinery shall be stored outside flood fringe area zone A, 100-year floodplain. Number 9, there will be no stockpiling or fill above natural grade within the floodplain or shoreland areas. Number 10, the pit haul route shall be dust controlled when in use. And then number 11 we should have number 11 added. There was discussion at the Planning Commission. It did not get in the packet. There was a request from the township that the pit operator place truck hauling signs on opposite ends of the building site located at 14964 Koala Road, Glencoe, Minnesota, when the hauling into or out of the pit is in use. So we would ask for number 11 to be added, which is truck hauling signs. And those truck hauling signs wouldn't be permanent. There was discussion at the board in regards to the road authority and the county force placing signs to be placed within a road right-of-way when we don't have authority in that road right-of-way. It was a request of the township that those signs are placed, and it would be temporary signage when there are significant trucks hauling in and out of the pit. So that is just a clarification for number 11.
Mark, just so we get it right, I mean, obviously, is it the responsibility of the contractor to get those sites? In my opinion, it should be. We went through this before on 212
That is,
and whatnot, and they should only be done because there's sporadic uses. I mean, they don't use it every day. They should be up and taken down when they're running. I mean, that, to me, is common sense, but.
that is correct. So the discussion that we had at the Planning Commission, there was a little bit more discussion in regards to truck hauling signs, and there was a talk in regards to placing permanent signs. So as a county, it was discussed that the county shouldn't have the authority to force place permanent truck hauling signs in a road right away that's controlled by the township. But that's not the case here. So this is a condition that's relative to the use, which would be truck hauling signs that are temporarily placed on the edge of the road, and it would just be when there's significant trucks hauling in and out of the pit area. And so at that particular point, the county would have the authority because it is relational to the request.
And I would add that it's a safety concern, and I don't like permanent either because they take them for granted after a while and don't pay any attention.
The second item I would like to bring up, Mr. Chair, if I can. So one of the conditions for restoration, the applicant has stated that the homeowner or the landowner would like that area restored for pasture. There's a little bit of a low area there. Some of this pasture area, there's floodplain in it because it's an old borrow pit from years and years ago. So when FEMA remapped that floodplain, legally you have to, if you're going to fill in a floodplain area, you have to go through a conditional use permit or get approval from the DNR. I did speak with the DNR, and I do have notice on file that stated that they're incidental. So because those areas were below the threshold elevation-wise, and they would be classified as 100-year floodplain if a structure were to be built, they do not have any issues in regards to filling those above that 1,005 foot, which is the intent. And so my point being is they are not going to request us to do any kind of hydraulic analysis, the applicant, to fill those incidental areas above that 1,005 feet. The intent is to bring some fill from some construction projects that are happening in this area over the next year or two. And the applicant would like to raise that whole elevation of his pasture, even after that material is taken out of there, about 2 to 3 feet above what it currently is.
How does that affect us? I mean, that to me sounds like a contract between two individuals. I mean, how do you put that in a permit? I mean, I'm not.
So we have that in there, that the restoration work has to be at that 1,005.
Okay.
I just wanted to explain to you
Okay.
what typically we don't have a restoration. It's just side slopes of 4 to 1, 10 feet below the water line if it's for non-farming purposes. I just wanted to be very transparent with this request, that it was vetted with the DNR. We did run that up through FEMA, and they are okay because the two circles within this area, small areas, were incidental. They were mapped, but it's not going to create a headwater increase if they are filled above what they currently are.
Okay, that makes sense to me. I just wanted to be clear on it. I have one other question that I don't remember while I'm around, that they're keeping some land back for hunting. I mean, I have no problem with that, but how, again, what has that got to do with our permit other than the transparency of that not being in the area?
Just that if that hole that they're going to leave there, they have to meet the standards of the ordinance where they would have to have a 4 to 1 side slope 10 feet below the water line to whatever depth that pond is. I do not believe the depth of the pond will be deeper than 10 feet, so they will have to make sure that that hole has a 4 to 1 side slope and meets the standards of the ordinance for reclamation.
And we have, as far as permitting this way, we have no responsibility in safety or whatever it is in hunting, because there's some issues with the hunting laws about where and when you can hunt.
Yeah, that standard, that condition that we put in there, and the reason I'm talking through that with you is because it's more for the applicant, so
Right.
he truly understands what's required of him for restoration.
I think I beat that one to death, so. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Mr. Chair, and a question mark. My concern is the haul route. I'm not familiar with the location, but I'm under the assumption that we're talking about the property coming onto an aggregate road. Rich Valley is the road authority. How or what's the length of their aggregate road until they get to a asphalt road?
I'm guessing a mile. I'm guessing because I haven't pulled that distance, but it is the shortest distance from the pit to paved access, which would be County Road 11. 155th Street, I believe, is the name. As Commissioner Chechka knows, I'm bad with names. I just travel as the bird flies. So that, I'm guessing a mile, but it is the shortest route, and the township was present. They were okay with that. Standards in the ordinance state that it has to be dust controlled, and it's responsibility of the contractor to make sure he maintains that road to its original state.
And a follow-up question, Mark. Just because they're permitted means they still have to abide by weight restrictions established, that are already established as far as how heavy loads they run on the aggregate road. Am I correct on that?
That is correct. That is a question really for our engineer, but that is correct.
Thank you.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Chechka. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Public Works, Andrew. Good morning, Andrew.
Good morning. Consider awarding state aid project 0436011013, the county state aid Highway 1 concrete overlay project to Kroll Inc. of New Hampton, Iowa for $5,634,702.98, pending concurrence from the city of Winstead with funds from the highway construction budget. This is our concrete overlay project that finishes out County Road 1 from the south side of Lester Prairie to the North County line. Through the city of Lester Prairie, we will be doing a bituminous overlay in the urban section as well as in Winstead. And then the city of Winstead has hopped on the project to do some water main repair work, fire hydrant repair work, and that type of thing. That's why we're including them in concurrence on this bid. We received 5 bids on this project, ranging from $5.88 million to $6.95 million, with an engineer's estimate of $6.92 million.
Questions, board? Obviously, I don't know if you have any more comments. Always when I see those numbers, it kind of sets me back a little, but that's what we deal with today, so.
Mr. Chair, I'll move request at this time, and I'll wait for discussion after the second.
Motion made by Commissioner Schmalz to approve. Is there a second?
Second that.
Seconded by Commissioner Wright. Discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Schmalz?
Yeah, in discussion, Andrew, this is, something that we've had, in the works for at least the 5-year plan, if not longer. And Kroll is not a new contractor to us. I think from what my understanding was, the job or the work that they've done in McLeod County previously has been done timely and satisfactorily, and I can support the request as presented this morning. Thank you.
Any other discussion from the board?
No, just that this starts our construction season off with another first big project. So I think we did at our last workshop have an opportunity to hear, the details of the 5-year plan, and maybe at our next board meeting, just what other construction projects are coming for anybody that wants to watch. This one is number 1. I know it's not a huge construction year that was brought out in the 5-year plan, but still just to kind of give a heads up on some of those thoughts for at least this year and maybe the next. Anyways, what you had. So,
Okay.
Thank you.
One more question, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Has Kroll expressed a schedule as far as when they think they'll come in and start and end the project?
Yep. We have not gotten a detailed schedule from the contractor yet, as we have not approved the bid, but in the specifications for the project, we're not allowing them to start any construction activity until after Woodstock, and then completion of the project at the end of August.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you. The only comment I would have is I appreciate, we've talked about this, like Commissioner Wright said, in our 5 and 10 year plans, and I get a number of calls on, you know, places we should fix and go. I mean, it takes, with the numbers of what it costs to do these projects and roads, roundabouts, corners, you know, it takes a lot of work from our staff, Andrew, to get these projects set in a timely fashion, and yet get them done as cheap as we can afford, lack of a better word, but.
Yep. Yep, and we are starting to work on, as we discussed at the 5-year plan workshop, a long-range transportation plan. Staff's been starting to work on pulling some stuff together, and at a future workshop, I will bring kind of an outline of what we're looking at for that plan to the board.
Right. We appreciate the input from the public. It's just a place, try to find a place to work them in.
Yep.
Any other discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Item B, I will note in the packet, there was an error. Item B was not in the packet. Item D was actually twice in the packet. Stefan is going to make an update to the packet that's posted to get this one in there correct. So item B, consider approving the purchase of a 2025 John Deere 644P wheel loader from RDO Equipment of Burnsville, Minnesota at a cost of $350,893 with funds from the Highway Equipment Maintenance budget. This replacement is part of the county's normal capital replacement program budgeted for 2025 and replaces a 1993 Cat 950 loader. If approved, the 1993 Cat loader will be auctioned off with the reserve set at the trade value that RDO gave us of $24,000. If the reserve is not met, we will trade the loader in to RDO.
Very good. I have questioned, I mean, Andrew prefers to use mid-bid, and it's worked out good for him. I have no problem with that. I just encourage anybody that, any of our local governments or townships or whatever, if they have interest, they do have the opportunity to come and check out the piece of equipment with the knowledge that you just gave them, so.
Correct. I will add that we did receive a second quote on a similarly sized and equipped Caterpillar 950F loader from Ziegler Cat at $371,932.
Wishes from the board?
Mr. Chair, the request fits the budget and also the turnover of vehicles and equipment that the highway department typically follows. So even though I really prefer Caterpillar equipment, I'll still give you a motion to approve the request. So.
And second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Wright and seconded by Commissioner Small, both Caterpillar people, but is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right. Item C, consider approving the sale of the 1993 Caterpillar 950 loader on min bid with reserve set at $24,000, which is the trade value quoted by RDO Equipment of Burnsville. And if the reserve is not met, trade the loader to RDO Equipment.
Move request, Mr. Chair.
Motion made by Commissioner Smalls. Is there a second? I'll second it. Any discussion? Same concerns, and I think the questions have been answered on this item. Any more questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Item D, consider approving the purchase of a new T16 tilt trailer from Towmaster. It's a 20-foot deck-over trailer from Farm Right Equipment of Dassel, Minnesota at a cost of $23,488 plus tax and license with funds from the Highway Equipment Maintenance budget. This is part of our normal capital equipment replacement program budgeted for 2025 and replaces a 2011 16-foot Towmaster trailer that will be sold at auction. We also received a quote from RDO Equipment of Burnsville, Minnesota for the same trailer of $25,255.50 plus tax and license for the same trailer. This is a slightly bigger trailer than what we're getting rid of, but what we found, especially with the skid loader attachments that we have, is that we need multiple attachments on the job site at once, and our current trailer does not allow us to do that. So fitting this into our normal replacement schedule was a pretty good timing.
Again, I would, I haven't had the opportunity to go to Shopman and go through this with Andrew, and that's a true statement. I mean, the other old trailer was, whether it's how good it is or new it is not really relevant because you were over maxing your load with the other trailer, so.
Yep, yeah, we're right at capacity on the trailer. It works for hauling around the skid steer and the bucket or one attachment, but we can't, a lot of times we're needing a couple of attachments to complete a job, so.
Right, and I would hope with the work that's being done within the county that people are realizing, I mean, it's nice we can get out there with one piece of equipment.
Yep.
Which is at the board?
I think there's a note also a little bit more, safety of a little bit more room to put stuff on that trailer as well. Move to approve.
Motion made by Commissioner Wright to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Smalls. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right. Item E, consider approving the sale of a 2011 16-foot Towmaster trailer on Minbid. We looked at pushing this trailer over to Parks and Fairgrounds to have them utilize that and get rid of one of their older trailers. We run into a little bit of licensing issue with the weight capacity on that trailer. It requires essentially a Class A CDL, which our Parks and Fairgrounds staff do not have. They have Class B CDLs. So that is why we're looking at auctioning.
Wishes of the board?
Move to approve.
And second.
Motion made by Commissioner Wright and seconded by Commissioner Smalls to approve. Is there any discussion? I did go through with Andrew on that license. Too bad, but that's the law, and they uphold that pretty well, so it's not worth the liability. Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. Employee relations. Morning, Hannah.
Good morning.
Morning.
Item A today is considering approving a memorandum of agreement with the McLeod County General Unit of Minnesota Public Employee Association, or MNPA, for the Parks and Recreation Maintenance Worker through December 31st, 2025. Please let me know if you have any questions about this.
Board, any questions for Hannah?
Move to approve.
Motion made by Commissioner Wright to approve the memorandum. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Cheska. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you. Item B is considering approving grade assignment recommendation by the Evaluation Committee and reviewed by the Personnel Committee for the Property Records and Drainage Taxation Specialist and the Chief Deputy Auditor Treasurer. Just as a reminder, McLeod County's job leveling system uses the same factors to evaluate each job description at McLeod County, resulting in an assigned grade. And the reason we're bringing these today is, as we've discussed later in the year, usually we'll do a lot of this when it comes to the budgeting process. These reviews came out of an upcoming retirement that caused us to pause, look at the job description, make sure that it reflects the needs of the department, and that's why these were looked at. They also had not been reviewed in many years, and that's why we're bringing them to you today.
Thank you. And I do have one question here.
Yes.
Where are we? I mean, these, I'm in favor of doing the evaluations and get them, but they seem to come in sporadically. I mean, are we caught up now to the best of our ability, or are they looking at more?
So I would say, Commissioner Kruger, that we're doing really well in that we're looking at jobs when obviously when they need to be. We are not going to look at all jobs at once. We have quite a few job descriptions. Again, we have a job description from everybody from our veteran van driver to our county recorder. I mean, we have a lot of job descriptions. We want to do our best to make sure that they're updated periodically. So if we can, we're trying to look at them every 3 to 5 years, and we're not looking at them all at once because that would be a really big project, but we are looking at them as they need to be. So I'd say we're doing a great job.
And you think we're pretty much within those 3 to 5 year?
We're getting there. I wouldn't say it's not perfect, but I would say we're definitely more up to date. The county, the board has invested a lot of support in the administration department within HR. So we have been looking at jobs really consistently, at least from what I can see. 2015, 14, when we started working with Keystone is when we updated our review, the way that we review all of our jobs and have a grading system for all of them. So I'd say we're getting closer to those 3 to 5 years. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I'm not picking on you. I just want the public to know that we're going through these, and sometimes I don't like to see any slip through the cracks. When an issue comes up, then we have to add something that we missed, but I just want to make sure. I mean, I know you're busy, but I wanted people to know that this is what you're doing. So
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to talk about it. It's something we really care about.
Board wishes? I'll make the motion to approve.
And I'll second that.
Seconded by Commissioner Wright. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
County Administration, review of commissioners' calendars. I get the lead off. Since our last meeting, I have attended an HRA meeting. On the 22nd, on the 23rd, I had an MCIT a meeting along with our administrator, who we both sit on the MCIT board, but this was basically an informational Zoom seminar type thing. And I also met in the budget committee. I had the honor, I'll let Commissioner Wright fill in, to sit at the ribbon cutting for our new Century Center at the fairgrounds. I think public use will be good, let alone the use of it at the fair. And the agenda review, which brings us to today. But I did also spend quite a bit of desk time on a few issues that we're working on, and as time moves on in our new year. Commissioner Wright?
Sure. I had an economic development meeting. We had a very robust update from our coordinator, and also started the plans for our town hall meeting to kind of help engage the public in some of our discussions and intentions. And there'll be more to come with that as those plans continue to develop. As brought up by Commissioner Kruger, our ribbon cutting at our new building at the McLeod County Fairgrounds Century Hall. I had the opportunity to lead that evening, and it was definitely an honor to be able to talk about our combined efforts between the McLeod County Board and the Ag Association and the year-round advantages that not only that building is going to offer, but our continued collaboration to make that fairgrounds not only the best in the Midwest, but the best nationwide in its ability to host a McLeod County Fair, the tractor pull, the Orange Spectacular, and all the other functions that happen there year-round. And we have some of the best staff to keep that up. We have some of the best volunteers. We have a very active fair board that's got some of the community's best people on it. And of course, our cooperation and collaboration with those people makes it a tremendous success story. Once that was completed, the McLeod County Fair Board, to which I sit on, met. A lot of those members had just gotten back from a state conference on some of the new things that county fairs across the state are looking at, and it was really fun to hear their conversation about the new attractions that they are bringing in, and just how energetic they are. Looking forward to all the plans that are needed for that event in August. And then also our budget meeting yesterday, just to kind of help firm up some of our expenditures for today. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Wright. For my calendar, on the 21st of January, we were all here for a county board meeting, and we held a workshop after that county board meeting. And then in the afternoon, I had a well-being committee meeting, which I sat in, and I was fortunate enough to Zoom that meeting. And then in the evening, I participated in a retirement reception for former Mayor Steve Stutko. Steve was a longtime serving city council person and mayor. I believe that he completed over 22 years of service to the city of Winsted. So he was honored at that reception for a great career he had doing work and working for the public in the city of Winsted. And then Thursday the 23rd, I Zoomed our UCAP meeting. And then the following week, as Commissioner Wright mentioned, we did the ribbon cutting at the new Century building at the fairgrounds. On Tuesday the 28th, I took a call from a parcel owner who lives on CD 10, northwest of where I live. We have tree removal work going on as I speak, and it's been going on for a couple of weeks along CD 10, and I had a conversation with the parcel owner pertaining to the tree removal. Yesterday, I Zoomed the MRC meeting. MRC gathered for a legislative report. Their guest speaker was Senator Mark Johnson. We were able to field questions to the guest speaker, and he was very well received at MRC. And MRC is looking forward to holding their next meeting at the legislative conference occurring at the end of the month. And that brings us to today, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. So after our workshop and board meeting on the 21st, the next day I had my first planning and zoning. It's been a lot of firsts for me, obviously. Planning and zoning was that next morning. It was very beneficial for me. They take you out on a road tour to show you what parcels and everything that they're talking about. So it was a lot easier for me to understand instead of just the little pictures. Mark does a great job of handing out a lot of information to us, but it makes it easier for me to understand that. Then on Thursday the 23rd, I also Zoomed the UCAP, and that was very most of it's just learning, but I feel if I can get one thing out of each meeting, so that was good to hear that. On the 27th, I also attended the economic development for the county. As Commissioner Wright said, we had a discussion on the gathering, trying to inform people more and just to get the word out there that we're there to listen and so forth. And again, the ribbon cutting at Century Hall that night was pretty cool. I'd never been in there, so it is very nice, and it'll, I'm sure, get lots of use. On Tuesday the 28th, I went to the Hutch City Council meeting, introduced myself there, got to meet a bunch of the people that I've talked to on the phone, but I've never really seen in person. And then yesterday was my first sharing hands, and I also Zoomed that meeting. That one was held in Marshall. So that is something I never knew we had, and so it'll be interesting to get to know more on that subject. So, and that brings us to today.
Thank you, Attorney Hansch.
One meeting I recently attended, it was held by the First Judicial District Court Veterans Court team. Right now, there's a Veterans Court in the First Judicial District, and they have a kind of a west end that Scott and Carver County participated in. It's housed in Scott County, and then there's an east end that's housed out of Dakota County. So there were several judges and county attorneys and then Department of Corrections staff in the meeting, as well as someone from our Veteran Services, just exploring if there would be a way to make residents of McLeod County, if there'd be a possibility for future eligibility into that Veterans Court program and what that might look like. So it was, a very early meeting, more just informational. there's a number of factors that would need to be considered as far as, supervision, resources, transportation, and things. But it certainly was interesting. I know we have corrections staff here today for our workshop, so if you have questions about it, I'm sure he could provide a little bit more information. But as those conversations continue, that's something that I'll certainly update the board on in case it looks like there's an opportunity for McLeod County to join in that in any way. So just wanted to make you all aware of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Sheila?
Hi, thank you. Item A, consider adopting Resolution 25-CB-14, request for absent members of Minnesota House of Representatives to be present and actively engaged in legislative sessions. And there should be a star next to that because it would require board action.
Thank you, Sheila. I'm all right with how this resolution has been written. However, I wanted to look at, or the board's opinion on adding another paragraph or another where is, and I don't exactly know where it fits, that the governor show some leadership in trying to get the House back in order. I mean, it's putting the citizens of Minnesota and our counties, I don't want to, I could go as far as say dire need. I mean, there's absolutely nothing going on. I could go round and round on what should be going, but actually, we're dead in the water. After the Supreme Court ruling, now it actually, it nullified everything. So I mean, again, it's up to the board. It was kind of ongoing as we were doing the agenda. And Stefan, did you get a chance to write a paragraph? No. Okay.
Mr. Vice Chair, as discussed, so this is a draft that was given to the county board upon your request. And anything could be changed in that if there was additions or changes from the board. I asked that Stefan not write that. But if you are looking for something to be added, it could be underneath the first, be it resolved. It could be, if this fits what you are asking for, it could read as, be it resolved that the McLeod County Board calls upon the governor of Minnesota to uphold their responsibility by ensuring that the Minnesota House of Representatives is present and actively engaged in future legislative sessions.
Okay, one more comment before I ask for the board. I did talk to Attorney Hench. I mean, there's some, I don't want to get, I just want to get the legislature going. I don't want to start throwing mud, and I don't, if it sounds like I am, I apologize. But however, in my mind, or what I know about parliamentary procedure, there's a certain responsibility of the governor, the leader of the state, to at least engage. But I'm happy, I guess, after talking to Attorney Hench, I'm happy with the resolution as stands. I mean, to at least get on the board. I know one or two other counties have done the same thing. Do you have any comments, Attorney, or no?
I don't think I have anything to
Okay.
add.
Any
Thank you.
questions from the board or thoughts?
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
It actually was a topic that came up at MRC yesterday morning about resolutions that of this nature that are being proposed, and there was a cautionary component to it, and the concern was where bridges have been built between let's say two parties, especially in a county where they have a split representation at the state legislature. So there were some cautionary statements made. It also involved some cautionary statements that has been made by AMC to take care and be careful with it so that we're not creating divides or burning bridges that have been already set up.
Again, I do happen to know what happened at the meeting. I spent all weekend on phone, off and on the phone, talking to representatives AMC and MRC. And again, I really didn't want to go down that road, but I'm very disappointed. I mean, there's an obligation to the citizens, no matter which side of the fence you're on, of these people getting back into service. And they're, AMC is controlled by the metropolitan commissioners, or the counties around the 9 counties around there. And everybody's scared to take a stand. And I respectfully, do I take a stand? No, I want them to do their job. I mean, we're going to go into a special session. It ends in May. I mean, it makes no sense to me, again, no matter which side of the aisle you're on. And it's not our job to sit here and do that. And I'm very disappointed in people that won't take a stand. I appreciate the information, but I reached out to the board. I reached out to a few people from AMC. And I do have, what is it, Morrison? What county was it?
Benton.
Benton, sorry. And again, the press got a hold of that and construed it. So am I worried about that? No, not as long as we're just asking. We don't have no control to get them back. I wish we did. But there is some precedent set. This happened in Wisconsin on a different issue. I mean, there is some precedent set in what happened over there. But there's so many moving parts, and all we're doing is requesting them to do the job. I respect your opinion. Don't get me wrong, Commissioner. But I've put in a lot of work in this, and it's somewhat compassionate to me, and I just can't go without saying.
Mr. Chair, and I appreciate those comments, and I was not being I wasn't debating you on it. I just was offering that as an informational piece only. And I do agree with your statements that you've made. And I look at the resolution as it reads, and I see, does it harm us? Is there any harm in proceeding with the resolution? And I don't see any. I do see the negative of the legislature not meeting. I do realize that it affects McLeod County by the House of Representatives not meeting at this time. So that's why I think the resolution is not harmful to myself or McLeod County, and I can support it. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I just, excuse me, a little scratchy today. If we're going to add today, I think it should be taken down and seen at another meeting, would be my personal preference, if we're going to start adding language. As the words that are here, I guess I don't see them as a huge threat. Yes, get to work. I would just not want to encroach any further on trying to use any measures taken here to increase some form of this childish antagonism that seems to be the crux of the problem that's started this whole thing. So, but I do believe that if we're going to add lines, just because this may be perceived by some as being some kind of a political statement, that we better see it at a different time. So.
Well, thank you, Commissioner Wright, and I will concede that if is your support of the resolution as written okay, as long as we don't add any other words?
You are correct, Mr. Chair.
Okay, with that, I mean, that was just my, and I apologize that it was somewhat of an oversight of mine that I didn't get that in sooner. Timing is everything, and right now, I would just like to get this through, so I would concede, I don't want to really call it concede, but compromise that if it takes just this resolution to go through sooner, I would concede to that. Is the board all right for me to recognize Ron Chemansky? He was a former commissioner and sat on the House.
Absolutely.
Ron?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was going to reserve my comments for the
open forum portion of the meeting. I'd just like to ask for a correction in the minutes. The introduction of this resolution was 25 CB 14 by our administrator. I have a copy of the resolution entitled 25 CB 15. So if I would just ask for
Okay.
that correction in the minutes.
I have, my resolution is 15, and I don't, whichever way it needs to be, we'll correct it.
The resolution.
It is 15, thank you.
So it is 15, we'll correct the agenda.
Thank you. I'll reserve comments for open forum.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Vice Chair, one moment. Stephanie, can you confirm, because I know that you were switching that with a resolution for Colleen? Okay, thank you, it would be 15 then.
Okay, I would accept, I'd make a motion that we correct it on the agenda so it gets in the minutes that the proper reading of the agenda should have been Resolution 25 CB 15. Is there a second?
Yes.
Seconded by Commissioner Wright. Any discussion? Thanks for the correction. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. So with that, I'll go back to our initial discussion. I guess is there any more discussion on the resolution as written? If not, I'll make the motion to pass this Resolution 25 CB 15 and look for a second. Seconded by Commissioner Chetzka. Any discussion? Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, and the resolution we're looking at now does not include any new language. Am I correct
No,
on that?
no new language.
Thank you.
Again, I think the language, or the point is there, but I guess it really covers what we really need to say and what we really need done. So, again, if nothing else that we're watching, there's so many moving parts, we could talk all afternoon. But with that, is there any more questions? Go ahead.
One more question, Mr. Chair, before we vote on the resolution. What do we do with the resolution with the assumption that we approve the resolution? Where does it go? Is it distributed? Does it go to the governor? Does it go to some of the state leadership? What do we do with it?
Mr. Vice Chair,
Go ahead, Sheila.
we typically send them out to the relevant parties if it calls, like this would call to go to our representatives and government, state government.
And that's what I've done in the past, is I'll send them to our legislators will use them in their conferences and pass them around. And in the past, I tried to get it to the governor's office, but you don't get a response when they get them or when they don't. But any other discussion on the resolution? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried, and Resolution 25 CB 15 is passed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item B, notification of McLeod Drainage Authority informal meeting with repair reports and alternative repair option discussion of County Ditch 12A. Meeting will be held in the Martin McLeod Boardroom, McLeod County Government Center, 520 Chandler Avenue North, Glencoe, Minnesota, on Monday, February 24th, 2025 at 9:00 a.m.
Thank you, Sheila. I just want to comment on that before you go on, is that ditch is in my district, so I encourage everyone that's involved on that watershed, try to be present or get as much information, because we are, this one includes a railroad crossing, and we're looking for the information from the landowners and people involved on that watershed, so please try to attend. Thank you.
Thank you. Item C, notification of board workshop following the board meeting on Tuesday, February 18, 2025, at the McLeod County Government Center, 520 Chandler Avenue North, Glencoe, Minnesota. Thank you.
Thank you. Open forum. Introduce yourself, Ron, please, and where
Ron
you're-
Szymanski, Hale Township, former commissioner, former state legislator. And I just want to commend the county board on bringing forth this County Board Resolution 25 CB15. I think it's incumbent on our local government to impress upon our legislators that they've got to get our work done. They work for us, and we can't tolerate them not getting into the legislative process. The question was raised about who do we send this to. I would recommend sending this resolution to the governor, the attorney general, the secretary of state, the Supreme Court justices, because everybody is weighing in on this issue, as well as all of the state senators and all of the state representatives. Everyone should get a copy. I know it's an arduous task to send letters to all of those 200 and some people, but at least, or in addition, an email copy of the resolution so that if they don't read the paper mail, they'll read the email. But Commissioner Kruger talked about adding an additional, where resolved in this resolution to the governor. I would recommend just writing another resolution more so directed to the governor to do everything in his power to get the legislature in place. That being said, again, I want to commend the commissioners for bringing forth this resolution. I have experience on both ends of this issue, and I think it's really important that the legislature get the job done. Delaying calling the session into order into March really compresses the session, and no good work is done when it's got to be crammed into half the time period generally allotted for legislation. The other topic I'd like to talk about is the 5-year county highway plan. In 2026, County Road 5 and County Road 9 in Winstead and Hale Township are going to be resurfaced. There's a little segment in the area of Sherman Station. County Road 31 goes from Sherman Station north to the Wright County line. I would just recommend that the county board, since they had a substantial savings on the County Road 1 project, allocate some budget funds to incorporate resurfacing County Road 31 in that Winstead Township area as well. So thank you for your attention today.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ron. You know, I'd just like to follow that up with, if there's always one board member that could catch every detail out of place, it was always Ron. So that's when he came up and corrected that. I'm like, yep, just like the good old days, Ron's going to make sure that everything's in place. So thanks for that.
Thank you. Press relations, I do not see any press. So with that, I'd look for a motion to recess our county board meeting until February 18th, 2025. McLeod County Government Center, 520 Chandler Avenue North in Glencoe, Minnesota.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's made by Commissioner Wright and seconded by Commissioner Smalls to recess. We are recessed.
Okay.
Pardon? You don't need to. We don't even have to ask for the motion, but it's.
It's part of what Ron was talking about. Ron, let's meet with Andrew.